you are one of those, I understand, who was approached by one person, maybe more than one person, to try to persuade you to pull out.
Well, look, I distinguish between two sorts of approach. I mean, one I've been getting all the time, which is people ringing me up, asking me not to stand. And I'm pretty certain most of them were doing that on their own private initiative. But then I received a call from number 10, which, is something completely different. And I was actually offered what I can only repeat the quote, a role in the negotiations if I stood down. Now, that is different, A, because it was from number 10, B, because it made a specific offer. And I think common sense fairly screams at you, Andrew, that no offer can ever be made to anybody without sanction. This couldn't have been a private initiative.
So this, you're saying, whoever it was who approached you, telephoned you, must have had the go-ahead from somebody more senior in number 10. That person must presumably be Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister. Well,
I don't know who it was. It could have been somebody below him. But what I do know is that, you've got 100-odd people, whatever it may be, working at number 10. You can't have individuals just going off on their own initiative and offering things, because supposing I had done what would have been unthinkable, but supposing I said, yes, okay, I'll take that, and nobody had sanctioned it. I mean, obviously, it would have been a nonsense. So somebody somewhere sanctioned that.
Now, you said at the beginning of the answer, other people contacted you too. That's presumably former Tory colleagues trying to persuade you to do the right thing?
Yes, but as I've said, a lot of that would have been private initiative. That wouldn't have been at the behest of number 10 or at the behest of the chief whip or anything like that. That would have been people thinking, oh dear, let's see if I can persuade Anne not to stand. Now, one or two did surprise me, one in particular, because he rang up. I hadn't heard from him for about 10 years. And he said, oh, it's your old friend here. And I'm afraid I did say rather tartly, my old friend for whom I haven't heard in a decade.
Yes. Yeah. Now, when this person approached you from Downing Street, did they say, did they appeal to you on the basis of the fact you're a former Tory MP, a former Tory minister, that you had a duty to do the right thing, almost a moral obligation to do the right thing, to pull out?
That was exactly it. It was, the conversation was this, that if I didn't do it, if I didn't pull out, and the Conservative lost in the seat that I'm standing in, then I was personally responsible. And I replied, no. Nigel Farage offered Boris a pact. He offered him, let me make it clear to all your listeners, that we wouldn't stand in any of the marginals in exchange for 30-odd seats that the Conservatives have never won in a century, but where there was a Remain Labour MP in a seat that had voted Leave by 60% plus. Now, we said, you leave us those seats and we'll stand down in all the others. And I said to this person from number 10, I said, if anybody loses the chance of victory on the day, it won't be the Brexit Party that has robbed them. The mugger will be Boris. He will have mugged them.
Now, this role that you were offered,
whatever
it was. I said, were they clear what it would be? Do you think it meant you would be joining the negotiating team in Brussels, doing battle with the EU Commission, because you are in Brussels as an MEP?
I have a notion, because I wouldn't pursue it. So I haven't a notion what was meant, but I quote, a role in the negotiations, repeated twice.
Do they know you well, this person who called? Because I am going to ask you, of course, who it was. But do they know you well? Because I've known you for over 20 years. You're not really, in my view, the sort that can be buttered up.
No, and I mean, that was the exact phrase I used to them. I said, you can't flatter me and butter me up now. I think the person made a misjudgment. I think anybody who sanctioned the offer made a misjudgment. If I was in a very senior position at number 10, and this person is, by the way, quite senior, if I was in a very senior position at number 10, and a colleague or an underling suggested ringing up Ms Widdecombe and making an offer, I would have said, don't do it. So somebody there's got a massive loss of judgment.
Now, this person was senior. Did you know them before the call?
There'd been a slight acquaintance some years ago. I knew who the person was. I had had dealings with the person in an official capacity when I was a minister or when I was in the shadow cabinet. I can't quite remember which.
Now, Charlie Faulkner, Lord Faulkner, has written to the Metropolitan Police to ask them to investigate. Do you think they should?
I think it depends just how great the scale is, and what the inducements actually were and how serious that is. If it had just been what happened to me, I don't think I would bother referring that to the police. The police have got burglaries and or drug dealing and goodness knows what else to look after. So I think in proportionality, if it had just been me, I wouldn't. But if this is on a large scale, and I don't know that, I don't know what scale it's on, but if it is on a large scale and if a lot of people have been approached, then that I think is slightly different, and at the very least they should get a warning rap on the knuckles for doing this. But I just think, whether it's criminal or not, I wouldn't know. What I do think is it's very sly. They've revealed themselves as very sly. And, of course, they're denying it. They're actually denying it. Now, I think somebody wants to put a microphone under Boris's nose and saying, are you saying Anne Widdecombe's telling lies? Because I would swear on the good book to what happened. And yet Boris is denying it.
So you would put your hand on the Bible?
I would.
And swear an oath?
If I had to, I would take an oath on this, yes.